Hey everybody, Tim here with tonight's episode of Star Trek. Special co-host Little Bear and Low Belly. Tonight we got Star Trek The Next Generation Season 1, Episode 5, Where No One Has Gone Before. So the first obvious thing for this episode is that it's kind of a twist on the pilot episode of the original series, Where No Man Has Gone Before. Which, starting with, I think it was the third movie, Leonard Nimoy started doing the monologue over the beginning, and he changed it. Where they say, like, alien life, and then when he started, it was alien life forms. So that's kind of interesting. As with all of the episodes so far, I've kind of mentioned, like, what they remind me of for the original series. For this one, there's a couple obvious references. The first one is the episode Shore Leave, where they go to the planet and anything they think of pops into reality. That's kind of the first, like, obvious remake part. One of my, like, favorite terrible moments of the original series is the alien that's of the little dog with the horn. This one has a similar one where Worf thinks of his pet from the Klingon homeworld, and it's basically a pig with a fuzzy outfit and a horn on it, so that kind of made me laugh. So I've talked about how warp does not make sense in Star Trek yet, and my theory, I'm sure somewhere, if I Googled it or Wikipedia'd it or something, I'm sure there's somebody's already got it down, but my theory, just watching TV, is there was an original warp speed, and then, because I think it was the fourth or fifth movie where they're like, oh, that ship has the trans-warp drive. Because, like, especially, I think it was the animated series, they hit, like, warp 36, whereas now it's kind of established. They can't really go faster than 9.9. And in this one, they end up going faster than warp 10, and Picard says, no one has gone this fast. Okay, like every other episode, the original Enterprise was going warp 11, warp 15, warp 36. So what's going on? And then there's the famous episode of Voyager where they finally hit warp 10 and then they start evolving. But we'll get to that point later. Speaking of Voyager, that's what this episode also kind of reminds me of. Like, the entire series of Voyager is basically this episode where they're kind of lost and they don't know what to do and they have to find their way home. Now, for this episode, they're back home at the end of the series. Whereas Voyager, that's the premise. Rumor has it Voyager was kind of what Gene Roddenberry had originally intended for Star Trek, was for us to be going where nobody has really gone before, and we're encountering new life forms. Whereas Star Trek, the original series, The Next Generation, even into Deep Space Nine, for the most part, we're encountering new life forms, but we're kind of in that protected bubble of our own quadrant of the galaxy. So, like, we already know Vulcans, we already know Klingons, we already know this. And even if we encounter something new, we can go back to what we do know. Whereas Voyager, they're stuck. There's no retreating. So this episode is kind of that first draft of what we'll come to see later, of being completely lost. And again, them being shot out to the middle of nowhere is also reminiscent of that original series pilot Where No Man Has Gone Before, where Mitchell puts them to the galaxy barrier, where it's all like just tie-dye colory 60s lights. So this is the first, I would honestly say this is the first episode I really genuinely enjoy for The Next Generation. Every episode has been kind of cringeworthy, and this episode has its moments, but for the most part, I genuinely enjoy this episode. It's the first episode we see the Traveler. He does return later on, which I won't spoil that. And this is the first episode where they kind of focus on Wesley a little bit. Now, personally, I like Wesley. I always thought he was kind of interesting. Part of that's due to my age, because, like, I kind of had a crush on him growing up, and that was kind of my, like, awakening. But I realize most people hate him, but whatever. And this episode is that first episode where we start to see that Wesley is not quite what he seems. He's a little bit smarter. He's kind of a savant, if you will. And I enjoyed it. I actually think that Wesley has a really interesting storyline. This is also the first episode where he starts to go into Starfleet. They make him acting ensign, which becomes a major role later on, where he actually does go to the academy and stuff. But yeah, overall, I would say this is a good episode. This is probably the first really decent episode of The Next Generation. And so we're finally starting to get to that groove where, personally, I don't think The Next Generation really hits its stride until we get to season 3, but we're finally getting those first glimpses. Let me know what you guys think of this episode. Let me know what you guys think of the Traveler. I had always kind of hoped he would be more reoccurring, especially in other series. Without giving too much away, I had always hoped he was going to show back up in Enterprise, like there were rumors, which I'll cover more when we see him again. But let me know what you guys think about that. Let me know what you guys think about the whole like reality appearing concept. And I will see you guys tomorrow for episode 6, Lonely Among Us.